Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I get it, man. Anybody hear anything from Sean?
He's sick.
Oh, he's sick? Oh, okay. Well, my clock says 5 o'clock. If Sean isn't, if we're not waiting for Sean, we're gonna call the meeting to order.
Maybe start your time stopwatch.
Start with routine business. Open Meetings Act posted on the northwest wall, as always. And Lisa, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Dustin?
Here.
Brad?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And Sean is sick. All right, would you all join me in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Move on to the consent agenda.
Before we move that, is there any, Councilman, is there any interest in the Dana F. Cole? Are you willing to pay that full amount?
When I looked at it, I assumed that it was when we're the last of our contract with them.
Right. It was released today. They were 8 months late.
But we were not, we weren't not penalized, were we? So actually, they fulfilled the contract, but it kind of put a burden on us.
We did get all of our highway
We're good.
And, but I guess it sounds like with that, since then we have went with a different accounting, right?
Yep.
So that might be their punishment.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Brad?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
I just wanted to know.
Get them all.
If we
Motion
got-
carried unanimously. Yeah, I guess my feeling is we kind of took that action a few months ago.
Right, I just, if we got any penalty or anything else, I didn't want to.
Yeah, I understand.
Typically, that'd be in your contract too, that if you incur any of that, that comes out of their end if it's their fault. If you look at your accounting contract, if they make mistakes that are their mistakes and not your mistakes, they're liable for them.
There should be an end date when it's due.
I had one that had, I used to use Patty Barstow. She was ill and had us go somewhere else, kind of recommended her. So took all my stuff down to Broken Bow and got lost there. Completely lost all my material. Didn't file my taxes, didn't file for an extension. Went and met with her.
Oh.
I get a letter that says.
Okay, I don't feel so bad.
But, long story short, that she was on the hook for that, so it's usually right in there. I don't know what she paid, but it was.
All right, moving on to the mayor's report. I guess I don't have anything special to report. Looks like all the Christmas decorations are up and they look nice, so good job, city guys. Next, we've got the mayor's appointments, and I'll read those off, but really no changes from last year. I would recommend that we appoint Dr. Mel Campbell as our municipal.
I was gonna check with, I was gonna ask you on that, because he's, I think.
December 31, he's done. He's retiring December 31st.
I think we gotta table that one.
What?
I think we should table that one.
Okay, well,
Or did you say you would?
I didn't talk to him about that. He is on the Board of Health, and I talked to him about remaining on that, and he said he would. He's still gonna have a license, I believe, but we can double check that.
What does the municipal physician do?
Sits on the Board of Health.
Sits on the board. Oh, okay.
And I do know he is our EMS medical director, and Ann talked to him about that, and he still wants to be the EMS medical director for now. He said, just for a little bit longer, not much longer. So.
And that's what I talked with him
January
about.
2nd.
Oh, there, okay.
That's what we talked about the Board of Health too, that he was willing to continue on for a year or so.
Okay.
And that's the only responsibility?
I think
Okay.
medical emergency, I guess he can
Yeah.
declare.
Yeah, he's supposed to
That's
be
probably true.
Like
Yeah.
outbreaks or something.
Yeah.
And I guess he's still our rep on the care center board, correct?
Yes.
Which doesn't require.
So, having said that, I do recommend Dr. Mel Campbell as the municipal physician, Michael Scholes as city attorney, Andy Taylor as the prosecuting attorney, Lisa Schradel as city administrator, clerk, treasurer, Brad Miller as the water sewer superintendent, Kevin Shaw as our street foreman, Lloyd Smith as our street superintendent, Bruce Papstein as KBR solid waste rep, West Plains Bank, Homestead Bank, and Union Bank, and the Nebraska Public Agency Investment Trust, NFIP, as our bank depositories. Bank depositories, not suppositories, depositories. And the Ainsworth Star Journal and KBR radio station for publication. You can approve those all in one motion, or you can consider them separately, however you like to.
Do I need to read them all out?
Well, I just
I
did.
I'll make a motion to approve the mayor's appointments for December, as read.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. No public hearings tonight, no business. We do have a fairly brief agenda tonight, but that puts us on down to the regular agenda. First item is to discuss and consider no parking designation on Pine Street. Are you here for that, or are we expecting somebody else? Maybe we'll hold on that, see if, oh, there's a door. Been a girl running out. Oh, there we are. Welcome, we just got to the regular agenda, and the first item is to discuss and consider no parking designation on Pine Street. Would you, anybody have any comments on that, or would you like to make any statement first, or?
Sure. I'm Gary Gracer, pastor of the Assembly Church there, and Lisa encouraged me to come over and visit with the council a little bit, so I guess, give you just a little bit of history on that. I'm not sure how long the no parking signs have been up there, probably ever since I came to town to pastor. So we went to the law enforcement, previous administration, to see what their view was on us, because I knew we were parking out there, because our parking is very limited. And they were fine with us parking there temporarily, you know, like through services or something on Sunday. And so we never had any issues with them at all on that. In fact, I guess maybe several times with skid steer, we moved snow off the street around the corner to keep the water running. But anyway, so just recently we started having an issue. Somebody apparently complained to the law enforcement that they got cited for parking kind of permanently on that street. They were trying to get them off of it. And then county sheriff talked to me about it, said we probably better not park there anymore. So we tried not to do that, and so that's, you guys are probably aware of that. But when we have like a large funeral or something, there's people parking on Pine Street, we try to park around the corner, but you know, it doesn't always work that way. So it's a little bit of a hardship for us not being able to park on that street at all.
So on Sundays, am I hearing you right, it's not necessarily a problem so much on services, but it's more when big funerals and things like that, or?
Well, for us personally, or for our church, just us, it's a problem on Sundays because we have probably parking for, I don't know, a dozen cars there. We can put them up and we gotta stack them in back behind the church. But if we can park up and down the street, you know, we have people probably walking a couple blocks sometimes. So I'm not sure how if we have to permanently do that, we can park down Second Street, but then they're gonna be walking quite a ways on that.
Is there any way we can change the ordinance on that block? So, I know coming up for the detour, we're not gonna be able to do any parking there when that detour comes up, when we do the Main Street. And so I see that we can't, you know, no matter what we do, we can't park nobody on Pine Street. But after that gets fixed and we go back to normal, I didn't know if there's a way we could change our ordinance, specify for the church, that if they have an activity, you know, that it's okay to park on Pine Street from, say, I'm just gonna throw out date or time, like say from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, you know, that it's okay. Or special occasions, a 2-hour, or some, just throwing out some ideas that we could maybe readjust our ordinance for that little area there. I understand it because, you know, I've been by there several times when you have church and your parishioners need a place to park.
Yeah, it would sure help us out. If it, like, even like if there was a funeral, if it was a 2-hour, that would not be, or people might even be hanging around there for 3 hours, but
Yeah.
probably not. But if there was at least a 2-hour window where we could park, and then we could, that would sure help us out, you know, that.
Is there one side of the street or the other that you could designate for this time period or this deal that would help you out, or would you want both sides of the street?
Good question.
You guys pretty much use the east side,
Yeah,
don't
it's
you?
the other side, you got a room, don't you pull up?
Pull in.
Yeah, we can pull in on the west side of the street.
I wouldn't.
Unless you're on down a ways, either way, you can park on that side, on the east side. And you have to be careful parking on the west, or the east side when you back out, because people can back into you sitting over there too, if you're.
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit of a problem, I guess, that way too, but. I have not, you know, I guess I'm busy, like Sunday morning, kind of busy, so I don't go out there to see how they're parking right now. I haven't, the sheriff hasn't talked to me. So far, we're getting along. Nobody said they got cited, but.
So you just talked to you instead of that, probably need to be careful about parking out there.
Yeah, he asked us not to park there, because he didn't want to have a problem with the neighbors.
Sure.
And so I understand that, and he was very good to us about that. He wasn't in any way negative, but just to try to, if there was something in ordinance that could say there was some temporary parking there, even though it's no parking, because I know, like, when it's snowing and stuff, they want to get that cleared out so it's open to get to the hospital and so forth. And we don't want to be a problem with that.
I know that is a more of a main avenue to the hospital because it's so much smoother than Harrington Street and stuff, so it's
Yeah.
a more, it is an emergency route and a snow route.
So it could be our detour route for a
Yeah.
while, so I would, probably say there would be.
There'll be no parking, no matter what we do,
No matter
there'll be
what
no
we do
parking.
During that time, because you're gonna have, your traffic and your wide loads and stuff coming
Yeah.
through there. So there's gonna be a time period where I don't even think we can even consider it.
No, we can't, during that time, it's gotta be no parking during that construction detour.
Right. But then
And I think you guys are aware of that.
Yeah, there was an accident, which Brad was there for that, of course, and somebody was parked on the side of the street, on the west side of Pine Street, and a person driving, that probably shouldn't have been driving, but anyway, they run into a car there.
Yes. And I think that's what prompted a lot of this going
Is that
forward.
part of it too?
I think that's what kind of got this the ball rolling on somebody else complaining about it because of that.
Okay.
Because of the signs that are up there, it says no parking, and I think you guys just pretty much got caught in the crossfire of it, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
it is something we probably need to address somehow and figure out something. And
You know, I guess we can look at the ordinance, I'm not sure, I might get into some pretty tricky wordsmithing potentially to to try to get something that's acceptable.
Because if we do that, then we'd have to get the right signage then too,
Yeah.
so people know.
What's the process of changing the ordinance? Is it,
It's not
just the
actually-
city council voting on it, or?
Yeah, the no parking designation is a resolution. So I don't know at what time that was done by a prior council, that they designated the whole street as no parking.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't necessarily be an ordinance change. I think the council, from what I've read through the city code, you can change that through resolution. And you just have to word it as though it would replace, any prior designation.
So you're saying that you wouldn't have to change the ordinance, you could just, like an addendum to it or something?
Resolution is just it's not an ordinance, it's just an official declaration, if you will, like a motion, official decision by the council, which isn't quite the same thing as an ordinance. An ordinance is, the ordinance is that Pine Street is the emergency snow route. Pine Street is the detour route. So it's kind of a technical designation, but procedurally, it makes it a little bit different for the city council. It's actually probably easier done than an ordinance change.
Yeah, it is, but the fact that it is an emergency route, detour route, again, makes it more complicated.
Yeah.
It makes the wording more difficult if you were to change the status.
Yeah.
You gotta catch all of that in there, so that you don't end up having issues with those things as well.
I'm guessing that the church has probably been parking on that street ever since it was there in the sixties, probably. But,
If we could keep it to one side or the other during this time, even when it's, if there's an emergency during church, at least you only got one side, it's still a pretty wide street. If you're only parking on one side or the other of the street during this time, it's allowing, quite a bit of room to pass or whatever you need to do there still.
sure.
But if there's vehicles lined up on either side, then you're gonna start.
Are there any other options for parking and to develop a parking place?
Only open lot, you guys got one that Jason Good has just to the west of his house, there's 2 lots there that's
Yeah.
open, but of course he owns that.
Right.
That's the only open lot close by there.
Do you guys, I don't know now, I'm sorry, but do you, kind of like the Methodist Church has parked, they have concrete paving there in between the street and the sidewalk. Do you guys park like that now?
Well, we've talked about doing that, and we talked to the city guys, the maintenance guys, about that. And we could increase our parking a little bit doing that, but that's gonna entail a lot of upheaval there to do that, I guess. So, yeah, we're kind of in the process of trying to figure out how to park this thing better, and that's one option. We looked at going down Second Street too, because that's how the school's parked in there, is diagonal, like you call it, parking. So, I'm not sure
On the right-of-way, basically.
how to go about it.
Will there be room on Second Street to paint 45-degree lines as opposed to everybody paralleling? There you get easily probably another 6 or 7 on that first block. You wouldn't be able to do it on both sides, but.
Is that the same width all the way down Second Street by the
It is
school?
there.
Probably it's more.
When is the project supposed to start, this next spring?
Yeah.
The detour will be coming through there?
Yeah, we already designated that as a detour route for that project, so.
I was voting for it to go west of town and north, or south.
I'm sure you were.
That's an honest answer.
I think about it. It's good for some and bad for others, no matter where we put it.
Yeah.
You didn't vote for Oak Street?
No.
Supposed to be the same width at least till that corner.
Well, I guess my suggestion would be that we continue to look at it and see what kind of options we can I'm not sure we can come up with the wording we would need tonight, so, but I think the guys everybody understands the situation a little better now, and maybe we can all brainstorm and come up with a better solution than right now.
Is there no way to sacrifice some grass and gain some parking lot?
Yeah, we've talked about that. So that's an option. I'm trying to figure out how to make a drive-by, so a drop-off point,
Right.
for handicapped and stuff like that.
You're kind of landlocked in there.
We're a little landlocked. Well, I appreciate you letting us, at least hearing us and discussing it a little bit, so.
Yeah, thanks for coming in and explaining the situation, and we'll see if we can get something figured out that'd be workable.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions for me?
No. You're gonna do a drive-by.
Yeah, me too now.
Yeah, I do too.
How's this gonna work?
Study it a little more. So, thanks.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is to discuss and consider resolution number 23-12. Authorizes the mayor to sign the retainer agreement for Heather Stickida to act as LD 840 attorney for the city. I guess she likes to have this every year, annual type of. I don't know that we've used her a lot lately, but she's a pretty good expert on that and has been really good in the past.
She's done a couple of things. We had a loan this year that she helped with. One agreement is probably sorting out some of the securities filings and all of that. So she doesn't do a lot, like Joel said, but
Does she help with every project or just when you have a question?
mostly just when we have questions. Sometimes with the loans, it kind of depends on what bank is being used. If it's a local bank that's more familiar with the program, we
Right.
don't rely on her quite as much as if it's a
So you
out-of-town bank or something.
don't use her a whole lot?
No.
When we first hired her, we used her
We used her quite a bit because we were, trying
things
to
were going on that we
update
needed.
plans
Yeah,
and policies
we
and
did.
stuff.
She was good help for that.
And she helped us through the renewal, she helped us redo the plan and get all of the legal, for the special election. So yeah, she's good to have, but we only use her
And
She-
her rates are pretty reasonable from what I recall.
I think she does it for
Same
2
as
other
last
communities.
year.
once a year.
So,
She's the city attorney, I think, for Ord and Luke City, and so does
She also
their
does their,
LD
she does LB 840 for other communities too.
So yeah, and she's really easy to work with, and her rate looks like it's not changed from last year, same rate. So,
I'll make a motion on resolution 23-12, authorizing the mayor to sign the retainer agreement with Heather Sitka to act as the LD 840 attorney for the city of Ainsworth.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion?
There's no.
Go ahead, call roll.
Dustin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Motion carried, 3-0. Next item is to discuss and consider the recommendation by the Ainsworth Betterment Committee, also known as the ABC, to approve $1,313 for E&L baseball program for a baseball scoreboard upgrade on the south baseball field.
Brandon's here.
That's me. Yeah, I guess I've been trying to raise some money to put a new scoreboard on that south field, to replace the existing one that's there, just outdated. It turns on, to run it, we couldn't find all the parts, and it's a hardwired deal. And I called the company about making it wireless, and they said it was impossible. So then we started looking into replacing it with a new one. And between the Elks and the Legion, we come up with some of the money. We got some money from the KBR does an operation roundup on their electric bill you can donate to. We got some money from them. So we went to the ABC committee and talked to them, and they're trying to help us out a little bit as well. So that's,
So on that field, is it mostly softball? I'm just curious, so what,
the far south one is mostly, Little League baseball.
but the one you're doing is the old softball field, right, where the scoreboard's going?
No, it'll be the far south one that
South of
neighbors,
Sylvan Field,
yeah,
By the.
by the solar panels.
by the pond.
By the pond. East of the pond.
So,
What are you doing with the old one that's there then?
well, and that was another thing, when I was talking to the, excuse me, the company that made that one, they say a lot of people sell them on eBay. They bring quite a bit of money for like sports bars, and there's always people looking for parts and stuff off of them.
No.
So, I mean, you know, it's the city's property, correct, right? So, I mean, I don't know, it'd be an option, I guess, to sell that, or I don't know what else it would be used for. Or it could be used for.
Brandon, I have a question. Don't wanna rain on your parade, but you requested, you say the total project's just over 4,300, and you're working on 6,300, 2,500 from two different groups and 13 from the cities, 6,300.
Say that again?
Well, you're, on your form, you say it's estimated total project cost of 4,300. And then in your notes, you say you've requested 2,500 from KBR Power and 2,500 from Don County Foundation and 1,300 from the city, so that comes to 6,300.
Okay, well, and that's, yeah.
I realize that the funds from KBR and what you're asked for and what you get can be two totally
Right.
different things.
Yeah,
But I didn't know if the 1,800 additional or whatever it would be is for something else along with the scoreboard.
yeah, no, we never did, submit anything to the Brown County
Oh, okay.
Foundation on there. Yeah, like when we requested money from the KBR deal, I just put a high number in there, cause I didn't know what
Right.
to expect on that. The same with the ABC committee, we, you know, we got money, the Elks has money to put towards it, and also the Legion.
So you didn't apply to the Brown County Foundation?
No,
Okay.
no,
Is your math better now?
Well,
I mean, that makes a difference, I get it.
yeah, I think, I mean, everything, the electricity's already there for it, so we shouldn't have any, expense there. Just be some manpower, getting
And you
it.
said this one's wireless, right?
Correct, yep, it's wireless. And it's basically identical to the one that's on the Philbin field. Might be just a few less options on this new one, but we just went with the plain Jane, nothing fancy.
for the old days when you had some little kid hanging numbers up on the scoreboard.
Right.
That's really old.
Yeah.
That's even
Wrigley
age
Field.
me.
They do.
Fenway Park still does too, I think.
Unfortunately, Brown, we can just take the one off the Legion field since we can't
Well.
have the damn Legion team.
Yeah,
We were discussing that before everybody showed up, what it would take to change it to a softball field or a little kids
Such a
field.
beautiful field.
So I move that we approve the ABC's recommendation to give ENL 1313 for their scoreboard.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes. Motion carried 3-0.
thank you.
We want the money back if you don't have a senior team.
So like when the time comes, I mean, I just get with the city guys about that old one. I guess I don't know what.
yeah, I would say that you'll wanna coordinate with us, with them, you know, the timing of when you wanna do that.
Okay,
They can probably help you with old.
gotcha. Yeah, I don't, yeah, hopefully, like I said, that gal said it should be fairly easy to sell on eBay, you know. So.
The company you're going with, that will move the old one for you, or not?
No, no. I'm sure they probably would, but I guess we can get a price on that, but they'll just, ship it out here and,
I have a telehandler.
well, that's, I was kind of talking to Chase a little bit, I think he's gonna,
Yeah, there you go.
I think he's gonna help me a little bit, get a frame deal in there to set it on and whatnot, so.
Thank you for taking on that project.
You bet, thank you guys.
All right, next item is to discuss the law enforcement meeting update and locks on the north door to the community center. I guess I can tell you that Lisa and I met with Sheriff Deibler and Denny Bauer, and Andy Taylor showed up a little bit late, but he was there for most of the meeting. And, you know, we suggested that we thought that was part of our agreement, that the sheriff would continue to, or his staff would continue to lock the door of the community center at night, and he felt that was not something that should be part of their duties. Is that accurate? So I did, Lisa and Cody and Lindy had done some research on the keyless type entry systems, and I did suggest that since we felt that was something we were paying for with our monthly contract, I wondered if the county might consider helping out if we did go ahead and purchase a different system. And Danny thought that was could be a reasonable compromise. He suggested he would support that. He's just one commissioner out of 3, but he felt that was something that might be reasonable. So I think maybe Lisa's got some numbers, some things she's looked into on a system where we could sell cards or for folks to get into the facility on their own.
Yeah, so this is one of the quotes. I've reached out to MC Contractor?
Yeah, MC Contractor.
For a quote as well. He's supposed to be sending that to me anytime. But basically, similar concept from basically, you know, just something that people could come in and out of the North Door and be assigned a fob or a card or something. It would have a software, like a remote app, I guess, that you could log into from a computer or phone or whatever, to where you can remotely lock, unlock the door, or set times for it to automatically lock or unlock. It would log who swiped or who tapped or whatever. Of course, it's not gonna help us control who leaves the building when, but, you know.
That's my concern, because, you know that they came in, but you don't know that anybody left, and people could still, you know, somebody's in here, they let somebody else in the building without a key card,
Yeah, it's
and
not
that
foolproof.
person could be here all night, we won't even know that.
Well,
Well, we would
we
probably,
got a camera system.
we would know probably from the cameras, if there was somebody in
But
here.
you won't know till the next day though, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help you clear the building, make sure lights are off.
No, it's not
water's
gonna be what we
running.
had, that's for sure, but, in terms of, I guess, the issues that we had very early on with some transients and, maybe people wanting to find a place to get in for the night, and, I would think that it would probably deter that, hopefully, because the only way they'd have access to the building at that time would be if someone with a fob or a key let them in. And with the system, we should be able to go back and see that, right? No, and hopefully then at least have a way to, I guess from our perspective, a way to handle that and address that. Right now, we don't really have a good system for that type of thing.
Yeah, this thing would let you know who entered, you know? So if
records
they, yeah, it records that, so if they let somebody else in, that's their responsibility. And, I mean, that's something we'd have to make clear is when they purchase their card.
I agree, if we're not gonna, if the law enforcement is not going to lock, unlock our facility, then we do have to have something like this on there. We can't expect our staff to go out 10 o'clock at night and lock it up and do a walkthrough. That's unsafe for them, like we said before. But we have a timer on there that locks.
And it-
But
frankly,
that don't get them out, though.
It does not get them out. But
So I don't know how
we'll have to deal with that,
Well, you've got cameras, so I guess my thought process is, like anything else, even when we had the sheriff's office coming up and locking it, if you had somebody in here prior to it being locked and it caused damage, we found it the next day, it'd be the same process that we've always done, which is you hop on the cameras and you watch footage, and you go back and try to see who was in here at what time, and then you contact the sheriff's office, and then you go through that process of,
So what happens if we have another incident like you had?
even if you had your cameras on your phone, you were at home, you should be expected to set it home and say, okay, it's 10 o'clock now. We'll go through and say, okay, who's all in and who's left. It's a hassle that way too.
You can put your lights on a timer too, your main lights.
That's
I mean,
probably
there's-
actually, right now, maybe the worst thing that's happening, now that it's officially really cold, and you don't have people like that moving through town, like that's kind of done for now. But it's the lights, people will leave, leave the lights on, so then your utilities are,
I'm saying like you could, isn't there like walk under like the fluorescent lights under the stairs? Like you could leave those on maybe, or hopefully somebody shut them off. But your big main lights, you can put those on a timer that they run from whenever you open until whatever the time is, and just put it on the time clock. And it just kills all the lights, but if people are still in there, they at least have enough light to get out.
So they just run the gym lights all day.
Right. Which,
They haven't been doing that now. But I don't know how much.
Well, you could manually, I'm sure.
oh yeah, but your gym lights are on all day anyway, aren't they?
Not always.
no, actually, most of the daytime walkers are really good about shutting the lights off when they leave.
They could be off, but if, say, can you set them, that no matter if they're on, they automatically shut off at, say, 10 o'clock at night?
They still have a manual switch. That's
Mhm.
probably right.
Yeah.
You can
The
feed
only
your
thing-
manual switch with
Yeah.
The only thing I would say about that is when you're if you're on the walking track, there aren't any lights proper on the track itself. They're under the track and then the big halogen overhead lights. So if those automatically shut off and you were up there, that could be a super liability. It would be very dark to get to the stairs, to the switch, to get down.
I think what Dustin's saying is at 10 o'clock at night, or nobody should be walking up there at 10 o'clock at night. There should be nobody in the building at 10 o'clock at night.
or whatever that cutoff time
Yeah.
is, when you can, that's why I say you gotta leave some kind of light on it. If that, I didn't know if that was a possibility, I don't know how the lights all work in there, but I'm just thinking like the big main lights.
Or if you had one of those emergency lights that was always on, I guess at the top of the stairwell maybe. So at least they could get there and see to get the light turned on.
I would think with technology these days, we should be able to find somebody who can figure those things out and.
Can we charge that to the sheriff's office too?
Sure. Well, we can always ask.
Another option that person could look into, and this is a really simple one, but like Polk has game cameras or something down at his cabin, and if a deer goes by or something, he gets an alert on his phone right away. I mean, it's not, and that might be an option of some sort that your camera system could be updated or something temporary, more like a motion detector type thing. Instead, for someone's, here at midnight and it trips it, at least the person might know. Then you have to decide who's gonna have that on their phone or that type of
Let him go to the sheriff's office.
thing.
That midnight one.
Well, we
Like the alarms.
We have a camera on the north floor, and both in the north hallway and outside. It is supposed to be motion detected, but our cameras, they work for our purposes, but they're not great. So we don't always catch, the motion detection doesn't always catch people on the ramp, the way that, we'd have to upgrade that
Yeah.
camera.
Well, it's no different than your fire system, how old is it?
Exactly.
And, you know,
It's just
the
disappointing.
technology's changed. Yeah. it's-
Disappointing that we're talking about this when we've never had to deal with it for years. You know, like this is, that we have to come up with an option,
No, it's just another expense.
and it's another expense.
But,
So,
you know, I guess I was kind of shocked that it's not that expensive. I thought these systems might be a lot more, but, you know, you're only talking a few $1,000s, so.
So it does have a monthly fee, you know, $12, and when I talked to Mike for the other quote, he said the same, but that one was, what he said over the phone was quite a bit more than $12 a month.
It was, well,
$125 or something.
it's $150 a year per lock. That's what we're paying, that's what we're paying at the ambulance part, is $150 a year per lock.
Misunderstood.
So that'd be that's $144 a year.
So that's similar.
Yeah.
So you pay that and then you have to pay for every card too?
So this quote was $550 per card, so I guess my thought process is if somebody, if they wanted a card, would have to come in and register for the card and they'd have to pay the $550.
Did it.
So then it was a wash for the.
Just like the post office, you had to pay $5 a key, so
Why,
you get your
why
mail.
does anybody need a key? I mean, you open it in the morning, you shut it at night, so.
Unless you're
Well,
locked.
Or you
on the
have a lock all the
weekends or-
time,
Yeah.
and you can only come in if you got a key. That would be an option.
Yeah, you only come in when you got a key. But
Or
we're
you're
trying to,
talking,
So if you want to use the facility, then you purchase.
so you're just gonna close it down when the office closes?
It would,
we close all the time.
Yeah. And I do have a problem with that, but if it's gonna keep people from living in there, that might be the only way
I
we
see.
can go.
Yeah, because my thought was, you know, you got a locking mechanism that opens at 6 and closes at 10.
Yeah, but
Except for a few employees having a fob to get in after hours, rest of the time's open.
I kind of consider it no different than like you're saying. I don't know how it works at the fitness center. You want to go work out, I'm sure there's some kind of code or card or
You know,
something that you can
fob,
do.
but-
And the normal, you know, hitchhiker or whatever that we had problems with earlier, that was trying to live in there, is not gonna be able to get in. If, you know,
But
if all the locals
yeah.
have a card or whoever, you know. And then it also, the card, Joel and I were talking about this earlier, the card, you know, like if you loan your card out, it says Ken Taylor was in the community center and he was the only one to come in, and guess what? It got vandalized. So you know who we're gonna go to? We're gonna go to Ken Taylor and be like, all right.
I don't wanna detour anybody from using the facility, that's what it's there for. And
I don't either.
especially this time of year, when it's cold out and stuff like that, you know, it's good to go by here and see kids in here shooting
Right.
baskets, that's what it's there for.
Right.
Walkers.
And walkers and stuff like that, so I don't wanna, this would kinda detour that from doing that, and
well, and it's, I guess the way that I look at it is, this system is very versatile. You can do any or all of what we've just been talking about.
yeah, you can set it home
I
with your
suppose
phone
what-
and lock it, unlock it with your phone.
I suppose you could, you know, if you wanna go ahead with doing it, something this, whatever, or, you could always set parameters, you know, later in terms of hours that the facility would be open versus when it would be locked, and if you wanted access at other times, then you'd have to, you know, you guys could probably set that as a facility policy separate.
If you had it open from even say 6, if you had it set to automatically unlock at 8 AM, close at 10 PM, and if you had people wanting to get in there early, then on that limited basis, have some fobs available, that would make sense, but to keep it locked, you got a whole pile of kids that use it for basket, you know, for a lot of things, that's a lot of fobs.
Yeah, I do agree that we need to put a door lock on it.
Yeah.
We just need to figure out how we wanna operate it, the door, but we do need to put a door lock on that north door.
I liked it being, I actually like the idea after I thought about it, of it being locked all the time, because no different than, you're not gonna let just any Joe Blow into your school, you're not gonna let any Joe Blow into your kids playing.
But this was set up a little different than that.
Right, but my point is like, I'm not trying to keep the public out, because I like seeing them, my kids use it all the time. one runs, one shoots hoops, so.
You know, when I used to walk, I mean, there was a pile of people in here this time of year. So, I mean, we're talking a lot of files and a lot of administrative hassle too. I guess I'm a little different on that. I'd rather just see a lock at 10 and be done.
I just don't wanna see somebody try to kick somebody out of this building, and then we're gonna sit here and something happened, bad happened, and then we're gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, that fob would have been pretty cheap, or that $5 card would have been a pretty cheap insurance policy.
But we've had that, we got that problem now. So is this the company you recommend then? I mean, this is the only quote.
Well, this quote came from Safe and Secure out of Sioux Falls. They did the original security cameras in the building, so that's why we got the existing customer discount. They also, as I understand it, are the company that does the security system for the school. So they are in town from time to time. They're really good to work with. I mean, they're very friendly. Of course, they're a ways away, but like I said, I did ask for a comparable from the contact that Brad had given me. I haven't received that yet. So I mean, I was kind of wanting to see, I guess, just price wise.
The other one that I gave her was, we just did the fire station ambulance barn. I know they just did the child, I think they just did the child care center for the
Then let's wait and see, compare.
Yeah, I was supposed to have received it this afternoon, so I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I'll have it.
And we got two companies that are doing
Well,
business.
at least you can kind of, I guess, see, like I said, the only thing that I had pause with on this company is just that their distance, you know, and just like with Nebraska Safety and Fire and everybody else we work with, if you have an issue, sometimes you gotta wait several days before they can get here because of the distance. But I will say, the guy did tell me, because we talked about that, with this system, they can remote in on the backside and problem solve to maybe save some drive time if there's an issue.
Where are they from?
I think it's Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls.
But I think tonight, really, all we have to decide is if we want to proceed, let Lisa continue to investigate the options. I don't think we have to decide all the particulars, how we want to administer it
I
tonight.
think we should proceed. I think we definitely need to put some type of locking system on that.
Well, and at this price point, I guess my question to you guys would be, you want to revisit it next month and actually formally approve a quote, or do you want, you know, can I just,
Can we give you a budget?
you know, if it's under $5,000, can
Yeah.
we just pick one and go with it, you know, whatever seems to be the most sensible thing for us?
That's what I'd like to see.
And then we can bring the policy back.
Right, we
you
can
know,
develop a
maybe.
policy how you want it.
Are we all in favor of, or agreement of trying to put a key lock on that north door?
I am, as long as there's multiple options, you know, like this is gonna be a trial and error, but it's the hand of Delta, so here we go.
But then also, it had the capability of doing what you want to do. It has the capability of maybe what I'm thinking we want to do. I think either system has the capability of doing what we're all in mind of what we want done. We just need to figure out, get it on there, and then figure out how we want to do it. And we can change it as we go.
Yeah, he said.
Yeah,
it
we
was
might do it for a
all-
year and say, we need to tweak this. And then we'd have that option.
I'd make a motion to approve Lisa the ability to budget up to $5,000 for a door lock on the north door of the community center. And the mayor and Lisa discuss the best options.
Second.
Motion is second, any other discussion? Call and roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Motion carried, 3-0. All right.
The other thing we didn't do is, are we gonna have the sheriff's department paid out of the sheriff's budget, or are we going to pay it ourselves? Or waiting on that?
Well,
Or you just withhold it from your monthly payment and
We'll
make
see.
them come after you for it and go discuss it from there.
Because ultimately, the contract I thought said according to Joel, that's just hearsay, so.
That's all right.
Well,
The contract according to Joel was is uphold or do whatever they've always done.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about that contract, because Vance in particular and our other council members wanted things spelled out on what was in this contract. Sheriff's Department didn't want it that, you know, like, hey, we're gonna always take care of what we've taken care of, it doesn't have to be
That's what.
line item by line item, and then to turn around and say, well, that's not specifically in the contract, so we're not gonna do it. That's, through all this thing, through both commissioners in here, that's the only thing I had an issue with, was that was part of the contract negotiations, was, no, let's leave it, we don't have to get that detailed with it, let's leave it a little more vague. And then to turn around and say, well, it's not specifically in there, so we're not gonna do it.
Yeah, that was,
Live and learn.
yeah, cause he told me face to face that he didn't want a bunch of little nitpicky stuff in there. And
Which I didn't disagree with
I
at the
didn't
time.
either, I didn't at the
I
time.
just don't, that's like I said, I just don't like the fact that that was used in reverse to say, well, it's not specifically in.
You wouldn't be the only one.
Okay, we're not gonna renegotiate contract tonight, so
You're
let's
not?
move on to the, Lisa's report. Lisa, what do you got bad tonight?
Well, not much. November, I don't know where it went.
It's behind us.
When I was trying to write this, I'm like, what even happened? I don't even know. It just seemed like it flew by so fast. The biggest, I would say, event would have just been the audit. You know, we spent a fair amount of time kind of prepping and preparing and running reports and kind of getting things ready for the new auditors. They were here last week, Wednesday, Thursday. So I think,
And you were done with it?
well, actually, they didn't really show up till like, what, 10:30 that morning, because they'd come from Valentine, so they were a little late getting here. And they were done by 10:30 the next day.
Those ladies are all smiles.
There were four of them.
Well, that's all right.
I don't know, the three of us were pleased, thought it went pretty smoothly, they were all very straight to business, you know, they were really friendly. Really, I didn't get much out of them necessarily, they were sort of complimentary when they left, that we were very organized, and that usually new customers are kind of hard sometimes, and he said this one went really well.
The guy that
Great.
visited with me was very complimentary, told me the same thing.
So
They did find one thing though.
they did. He, and we'll see what it says in the report, I guess, when we get the report, but he was asking me about signature cards on the bank accounts. Of course, Cody, Lindy, I, and Joel, you know, it's always been the mayor, myself, and just mostly for ease of business, because the mayor's not always around.
Requires 2 signatures.
And so that's what we've had for quite a long time now. But he said state statute requires the mayor and the clerk to sign all checks.
We sell
Have to come
signature
in.
stamps.
We actually talked about that a little in joke, because when
Believe it
Larry
or not,
Rice
I've
was
got
mayor,
doctors
that's
in order.
Steve.
They must, for oxycodone, they just,
Yeah. Yes, we were advised that stamp would not be acceptable either, which we knew, we were kind of just kidding, we knew that from prior. So, anyway, we'll have to possibly adjust some of our processes, you know, to make sure that.
Mayor's gotta come in more than once a month or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
his wage is gonna go up from $600.
I don't know if his wage is gonna go up, but his per hour pay is gonna go down.
That's rough on the mayor here tonight.
So we talked about some of our other checks and balances, you know, with the president and the mayor reviewing and initialing all claims and all bills, but he says, no, the name's gotta be on the check, so.
You're gonna have to for him to forge his name.
No, I don't think so.
Either or just feed him like 2 or 3 every 4 whenever he comes.
Yeah, he can just sign the whole
I was
stack
gonna say,
of blank
about
ones.
50 blank ones just signed with the mayor's signature, and a lot of people do that.
So, yeah, overall, I think it was positive. I guess we'll see when they come out with their report. So the way the contract reads with these guys, they should have this filed by March, and they should have a presentation to you all in May or thereabouts. So. Other than that, on a more sour note, I guess, we heard word from the Department of Economic Development that we did not we were not selected for DTR, so that's pretty disappointing, not super unexpected, but.
What was
Was
your
that the
request?
downtown revitalization?
What was your request amount?
433,000. So we had been told before we applied on a phone call that it was likely that we would not be awarded, that they were looking to award more water, sewer, sidewalk, that kind of thing, public safety. And so our lighting and aesthetics didn't necessarily fit their mold, even though those were eligible activities under the grant. Those weren't necessarily the projects that they were really wanting to fund, so it would really depend on what applications came in. So at any rate, when I got the denial letter, I guess it wasn't super surprising, but it was, it's disappointing. So I did meet with Olson's to kind of go over changing game plan, in terms of what other things we can pursue. We have a couple of other options. They're not gonna be nearly as large.
Well, I thought you were just gonna go to that poor guy and say, grates out, trees out, bushes out, gone.
Wouldn't be too bad to get rid of the trees.
That way we
Just
qualify.
ruin that poor little young guy's day after he put all that together.
So we'll keep working on it. I have several other avenues to pursue, so we'll be, we'll try to flesh those out and see, try everything we can, that's for sure, because that'll minimize our bonded debt, the more we can get there, so. Nebraska Safety and Fire is here today, actually, and finally fixed the fire sprinkler that broke, and found some other things while he was poking around back there, and fixed those, I think, so hopefully, I don't know, hopefully for right now. And then Brad found me a smoke detector and got that ordered, and so while he was here today, the fire safety guy plugged it in, and kinda, so far so good, cross our fingers. The true tale will be tomorrow morning if the panel goes off, because it goes off every morning, so we'll see if it's quiet tomorrow. And then the only other really big thing, I guess that's different that's been happening, Tour Day Nebraska, I don't know if anybody remembers that group. It's a bicycle group, and they were through Ainsworth in like 2016 or 2017, like 300 or 400 bicyclists.
It stays apart, I think.
Yes, they're planning to come back through again.
This is Brad?
Tour Day Nebraska.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Dustin, you gonna ride with them, aren't you, this year?
So they're expecting 400.
Don't look at, you can try to find me in that pack. I'll probably be in the front.
So they're
Big
planning to
one-piece
come,
yellow.
planning to come like June 26th, 27th, and spend one night in Ainsworth. So the chamber, I think, has been talking to them as well, kind of trying to get things coordinated. And they're a big time, like, they want meals and they want entertainment and they want, it's.
Oh, wow.
We'll
Is that a
see.
week, are those weekdays? Tell me it's not alumni week.
I was just
It is
looking at
alumni week, it's,
Week, but not weekend, is it a
Wednesday,
middle of the week?
Thursday.
What days did you say?
I think it's the 26th, 27th
Friday, Saturday?
of June.
No.
Yeah.
That's July.
Heart attack, I just looked
Wednesday,
at it.
Thursday, yeah, I was gonna say, boy, that's gonna be a big issue.
They might just join the parade.
Yeah.
So they were kind of looking for some entertainment options, so I'm not sure, I kind of put that in the lap of the chamber. So hopefully.
What, they want a concert?
Singing.
Well, we got told today, be prepared, there's another event, June, 3rd and 4th? You're gonna have a whole
June 4th.
pile of antique tractors in town, if they haven't come to you for that, about that yet, so.
No, haven't heard
They're gonna have
anything about that.
like
A whole pile, yeah.
They're starting in Valentine and going to Orchard or Clearwater.
They'll be here for a night and parking a whole mountain of antique tractors along the Legion, because they're doing a meal there, and then they're parking them overnight out here on the Daniels lot, staying at the roadway and heading east the next day. But we got a half-hour presentation on that this afternoon.
Do they bring them on trailers or do they?
No, they
Well, they trailer them to Valentine where they start.
But
They will be
run
driving
them all the
12
way?
miles an hour along the shoulder of Highway 20 during summer traffic. Along the shoulder, 130 to 150 tractors they anticipated, is that right?
No, I think, well, they said they'd have 30 to 35 of their own, and then if anybody else
Oh, I was
joins.
misunderstood, I thought it was.
There's been
No.
other companies do this, like they go to the Capitol and.
Yeah, they, at the
Same
Capitol,
area.
they said they had
Oh, that was-
130 to 50 tractors trying to get around the
Capitol.
tundra or whatever you call it, yeah.
Yeah,
But,
several years ago.
no, here they're looking at 30 to 35 at least, and, you know, Joel gets out his little John Deere or his little Ford N, you know, he might be.
You're 8 in Ford, so you're,
I don't know. I
you're
used to have
16
one
foot rake behind
a
it.
lot of years ago.
So anyway, just keep that in mind, that you're gonna have some tractors in town that first,
Okay.
one of those days in the early June.
So
Good
Lisa,
to
does
know.
that work for the city guys when they come through? Is that,
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll have to do some coordination out at the park. And the last time they were through, there really wasn't much that the city proper did. They like to have indoor camping options in case of bad weather, and even though last time they were through, there was no bad weather, we still have people everywhere here.
oh, so they stay?
They bring their bikes in and they sleep on the floor and they shower.
We'll be able to sell a couple
Towels in the
hundred
trees
cards.
and-
Yeah, time after 10 o'clock and the lights go out.
Yeah.
Do
No, I
they
mean-
coordinate then for, typically they have some of the organizations will try to do money
Well, I-
fundraisers by having a meal out there.
We did a, the fire department did a pancake feed that morning before they took off.
They pay well.
But nobody showed up to it.
Oh,
And we
really?
started at 4 o'clock in the morning,
They didn't want to eat?
and there was, I bet we had maybe 20 max eat
Oh.
pancakes.
Now, is that Bram?
That might have been Brand at the
Yeah.
time or something like that, but yeah, I mean, they were
Just out of there.
just
A
out of
lot of those guys like to ride early when it's
Yeah.
cool, and that's, so they don't eat, they just take out.
Go to the
and
next one,
Stop later in the day and get their feed.
So we'll have to do some coordinating with sprinklers and electricity and that kind of thing. But otherwise, I think a lot of the coordination hopefully is probably being done by the chamber.
Before you adjourn. Or you
Anything
can
else,
vote after
Lisa?
you adjourn.
What's that?
Anything else?
No litigation updates?
Oh, okay, yeah. One is settled, the street shop rumor contracting has been settled.
Yeah, and I forgot to call Michael to ask what I could talk about, so.
Okay.
all of it.
We'll just wait till, we'll wait till next
It's all
month.
coming out when it's done, but okay, fair enough.
The other one that involved the double suit, with the city of the school with the fall on the sidewalk. There was an offer made by Alarm and Alley Cap, the school's insurance carrier. It was a fairly low offer, I don't know how much of that I can talk about, but basically I haven't heard anything back, so I'm assuming that meant that it's still ongoing.
Okay.
They're still negotiating or something.
That was at the school that fell.
Yeah, out in front of the A, that was like back in 2021.
Rob, did you have something you said before we adjourn?
Yeah, we originally were talking about, before the meeting, the Legion Ball field, and then we got into the Little League, or the Little League fields, and then the softball field. And it's probably more of a park board thing, but I never go to those meetings. The backstop on the softball field, is that called Fieldman softball field?
Yep.
Is an embarrassment. They have fixed it a little bit. My nieces and nephews and Gregory were on this, Gregory softball team. They'd come down, the first time I watched them, a foul ball was hit into the backstop and it dropped down and there was a big gap, so then they had to try to get the ball out of that. Well, it's been wire tied together to a certain extent. but that backstop really needs to be replaced. As much as that field is used for
That one's used.
softball, little league and all that, you know, you look at the Legion, you know, with the metal framing and that, it's very, you know, it's nice looking, and those big old telephone poles they use to support the wire on the softball field, invariably, you're watching a play, and that's where the ball goes, is, you know, for the spectators, so.
Why don't, like, I live by that field, and there's hardly a night that there ain't people playing on that softball field.
Yeah.
Or arguing over who gets to play on the softball
Yeah.
field.
It really needs to be updated, and what, I understand it's a park board thing or whatever, but it doesn't look good for the city's image when you have visitors coming in. And it would be a very, not an inexpensive, but it shouldn't be that expensive to upgrade it, especially as much as it's used.
Why don't they, I agree with you on that, but why don't the softball players use the Legion field, nobody's gonna use it?
I think it's the dimensions,
So,
yes,
the base
dimensions,
weights and-
dirt infield instead of grass infield, softball, you're always a dirt infield
I
instead of
mean,
grass.
Dustin, they'd have to destroy the baseball field to turn it into a softball field, which.
Well, I mean, not
No,
destroy it, but I
Well,
mean, like.
Yeah, I think it's the I think it's
Yeah.
dimensions.
The dimensions?
So,
Yeah, it's dimensions.
but really, I mean, I'm gonna
Especially-
throw that back at E&L, that I will say, you know, as much as I love baseball, I mean, if it comes to that and it gets used,
That's what, I mean, would it be an option? I know to tear out the grass in field and put dirt.
you guys will have to
Oh,
walk that through
my
your
heart.
group politically to do that, but I'm just telling you from my perspective,
I mean,
that.
Yeah,
it-
tear out the mound.
Yeah, it's just,
Right.
if we're never gonna have a junior, or senior
But how
Legion
do you
teams.
know that you won't have a pony junior?
If you tear it out, you will never have one.
I'm just
That's
saying.
true, but
We don't have a softball
How-
field either, but we still have a softball.
how many years have we not had it?
18 or.
How many years have we not had a softball team?
And when it came
Still
time
have
for that
softball
group to
fields.
move up into counties, they had
You know,
eight.
but even if the guy
And now you
needed
lost
a
it.
dirt infield, you know, if there was ever a Legion team, you could still play Legion ball on it. You don't necessarily have to have a
Yeah,
grass
you'd have to
infield.
do, but it's just, all I'm saying, I just wish it was used.
Right, yeah, it's too nice of a facility, just sit there and.
So, yeah, Rod, you're right, that
Spend some mowing
needs a
and
new
everything like
backstop.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up while we were talking about it and hadn't think.
Of all the improvements in the park, that's.
According to your numbers, Brandon's gonna have some extra funds.
Don't drag me into that.
And just another really quick update on the baseball fields. There was, somebody said something about scheduling of the field. So we took some feedback off of the park board from the baseball teams that were kind of, upset about scheduling fields. And we do have a scheduler now on our website, a calendar for the fields. So people can go in there on citywaynesburg.com. There's a fields Google Calendar. You can go in and you can block out times, and so people can go on and see what's available when and speak for it. And
So like when we get our baseball game schedules, we
Yeah.
can
so
give
hopefully
that
that
to
will
Lenny
help
to put on the
everybody.
It's
calendar.
not just a generic where anybody
You
can go
can-
in
you
and
can do it
schedule
yourself.
something, is it?
No, there's
I was
some,
gonna say, something an administrator
there's
has to
some
do that.
controls on
Yeah.
it, but,
So-
I mean,
Mayor handles all double bookings.
Yeah, along with the signature.
Do you guys schedule that?
No.
Who's
So, anybody can go onto the website and schedule, each field has its own. And so say I went Philbin Field on June 1st from 3:30 to 5, and I select that, nobody else can schedule that field for that time.
So you can
It
get.
does not keep like a calendar, like Dustin has this field for this time, Greg has this field for this time. It just does not allow anybody else to schedule the field at that time. So anybody can go on.
So
So
something,
all of the coaches of every league can go schedule their practices for their field, for their times. All of the games can then be scheduled per the fields, per those times.
so I can be on and go in there and schedule every
Yeah, I was
time
gonna
myself and not
say, if
use
you
it.
were
I
votes on
can
that,
see
Brad.
who's doing
I was gonna
it,
say,
but not everybody else
Okay,
can
all
see
right,
who's
yeah,
doing
that's
it.
what I say, something like an audit say.
Yes,
so
I
if
could
you-
pull a report and see
So
what
that
you
ultimately
scheduled.
comes back to you though.
And you could
That's what-
remove that person and reopen that time too, if that's,
if it became an issue, we would know who.
Good.
who-
Something
We
like
did
you-
that at the same time that we did the online youth activities registration. So for reports, we can see everybody that signed up, what day they signed up, so it's been handy. We're excited for the calendar.
Yeah, we did the basketball online registration, and I think that worked pretty good for the most part.
Good.
Yep.
So you did like the registration, could we do something like that for like baseball?
All right, meeting's adjourned at 6:10.
But it,
That was close to 32 minutes.
Baseball,
I mean, we can talk about that another time, but like,
Lisa, I'll watch it.
wrapping it all in.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. During the summer, we got